Good morning, everybody. Today is 24th of April 2020, and we are going to continue the lecture on our on this what do you call it communication skills first. Then after that, we're going to the laws which are uh, related to engineers. So let me share the slides on the what do you call it, this communication first. Right? Okay. Share this. Let me share the slides. We go to the desktop application and wait, this is the one. Okay. Now I share. This is actually I'm going to go very quickly. So this is actually slides from IEEE on the engineers as communicator. So this is not my own slides. I just use this for the presentation. So basically, that's the goal of this session is uh, for you to be able to understand how to use written and oral communication skills to further academic and professional success. Basically, that to acquaint students with the different academic communications requirement. Actually, some of them you already familiar with. And for students to obtain knowledge and skills in the academic communication areas, and for students to become more effective communicators. And also to prepare students for the communication requirements in the workplace. Right? So this is actually quite important, and actually this is actually the slides that I use just to highlight on the importance of the communication for engineers. Yeah? As an engineer, your job is basically to develop the best technical solutions. Some of people think that that is actually our main focus. So they think that they don't need to communicate with others. So they say, why? So why do I need communication skills? Why do you need it? So this is actually a common viewpoint from the engineers. So what do you think? Anybody? Why do you need communication skills?
To reduce conflict in organizations, sir.
To reduce the conflict. That is correct. That is one of them. Uh, Another one, the other one is actually you as an engineer that you develop your solutions, you have your proposals and whatnot, that you need to explain, to present what you have done, so that the managers will be able to support or to provide budget for your projects. There is the immediate one when you work actually, that you need to present your ideas in simple, concise, and understandable form for your managers to give you the approval in order for you to embark on this project. So those are actually one obvious reason why that you need to have a good communication skill. Because the budget, actually, a lot of, when you go into the company, there are a lot of departments or a lot of projects competing for budget, competing for money. So therefore, the engineers or the project leaders who can present the case or the proposal better and to convince the management will get the money. And the one are not who are not able to convince the management, they will the proposal most probably that will be rejected by the management. So to communicate your proposal, your need is actually paramount in the organization. So engineers as communicators, this is the perception. The fact is many engineering students and practicing engineers prioritize technical skills over communication skills. We always focus about to be good engineers technically. We want to be the technical go-to in the organization or in the project. We want people to recognize us on the technical skills. This is actually a mistake, and you will find out that communication skills are every bit as essential as technical skills if you want to be fully effective in your job and to have a successful careers. So communication skill is as important as the technical skills. Even sometimes communication skill overtaken the technical skills. When if you want to move up the ladder in the organization, right? Especially if you want to be managers. If you want to stay in the technical ladder, you are not going to go into the management ladder. Maybe the technical skill is more important than the communication skill. But if you want to be a manager, you have to have a better communication skills. Right? This is the reality, basically. The engineering field that effective communication skills are crucial to success in the workplace. So in the surveys, which is done by the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, it says that communication skills such as business writing, technical writing, and public speaking and presentation preparation are crucial for success as engineers work in and among more varied groups. So communication skill is crucial. Business writing is basically that when you want to do proposal to get the budget and whatnot. Technical writing is basically when you want to present your project or research outputs. And public speaking is really when you do presentation, when you talk in front of people. Presentation preparation is usually that how you prepare your presentation before you go in front of the public to talk. So that is also important. Those are the four main things which is crucial for the engineers when it comes to the communication skill. Communication, essentially the human connection, is the key to personal and career success. Good communication does not mean that you have to speak in perfectly formed sentences and paragraphs. It isn't about slickness. It's actually about simple and clear way of presenting. So simple and clear go a long way in presenting your ideas, in getting people to believe in you and to understand what you are trying to communicate. So developing excellent communication skill is absolutely essential to effective leadership. So for cadets, when you are actually being trained to be a leader, so therefore you need to have a good communication skill in order to lead. The leader must be able to share knowledge and ideas to transmit a sense of agency and enthusiasm to the others. If a leader cannot get a message across clearly and motivate others to act on it, then having a message doesn't even matter. So this is actually quite crucial for cadets because you will be leading your men, and if you cannot uh, uh, put across your message, uh, your men uh, will not put 100% effort and heart into it. So you need to communicate the agency. You need to communicate the importance and also to communicate to motivate your people. Right? So the communication skill is absolutely important, essential, and important. Yeah. So as students, we require normally that in school you have three uh, communication methods that is you need to write reports. So this is actually that you do during the what do you call it, this lab reports, for example, right? When you do your labs, you need to write reports to present your findings. Second is the presentations. For example, you need to present your final year project to the panel. Third is the papers, journal papers, or most probably your thesis, which to be reviewed by a supervisor. So in school, in the university, these three forms of communications method that you use. But in the workplace, you also have project reports and proposals. So whatever that you learn now to write reports and whatnot, this skill you carry on to your workplace. So in the form of uh, preparing of project reports, proposal, budgets, reports, and those kind of things. In terms of the presentation, if you're an engineer, definitely that you will work. If you are in the design team, you have to to present your design to the review board, which is the review board normally consists of the staff engineers, principal engineers, and senior engineers at least to review your design. So basically that they will try to poke holes into your design to find the weaknesses of your design, so that you'll be able to improve your design. Another one is that the customer briefings. Once in a while, the engineers are required to present, to do technical presentation to the customer, to brief the customers on the technical matters. Normally, you have sales people, marketing people who deal with the customers. But in the technical field, technical sales, most of them are engineers, sales engineers that will do the briefing to the customer on the technical part. And of course, you have to present a status update of your projects, for example, that you need to do weekly basis or bi-monthly basis or quarterly basis. So those are the types of communication in the forms of presentation that you need to do when you work. Then papers. If you are in academic, you have to write journal papers, which is to be reviewed by the experts. So if you are not in the academic line, most probably that you rarely write papers. Right? But when I was in telecom, in telecom R&D, still I wrote papers which being reviewed for presentation in in conference and whatnot. So all these three forms of communication important for you, whether you are in the university now or in the workplace. So what kind of reports? What are the format? Normally that the reports format is being dictated by your lecturer. They will ask you, okay, you need to have title page, you need to have summary, abstract, introduction, discussion, conclusion, recommendation, and also appendix. So this is actually normally the format is given by your professor when you write reports. Right? So this is actually you are familiar. Right? Okay. So normally this is the title page that you have the title, student number, date of the report, and whatnot. Summary normally is not more than one page or maybe just one paragraph. It depends on the requirement of your lecturer. So I can browse through this because you are familiar with this already. You are in year 4, so you have done how many labs already? 3 labs. So you have quite familiar with this. So this normally that the students are very weak in this area, the discussion of the results. So this is actually the part that is normally if I am uh, uh, the lecturer for the lab, I will look at this part to be the distinguishing factor between a good report and a bad report. Normally in this part is the discussion of the result, the analysis of the result, and the conclusion and the recommendation. So this is really these 3 parts that I put more emphasis on. Okay. Another part is the second one is the presentation. A presentation basically that is involve oral reports of your written report. So normally, for example, in your presentation for your FYP, final year project, this is actually an oral report of your thesis. So your report should tally to what you write in your thesis. Another form of presentation is reporting on the status of your project or design, or even involve persuading an audience to align to your viewpoint. So the second one, which is reporting on the status of project or design, this is actually that you update your panel or your superior on the progress of your report or progress of your design. Another one is the last one is actually that to persuade an audience to align to your viewpoint. This is actually a presentation of your proposals. You present your proposal in order to get approval. So basically, you want to persuade the audience or your boss to agree with your viewpoint so that you get the approval for your proposal. Okay. So normally those are the 3 types of presentations. So making an effective presentation involves 2 important communication skills. The first one is the public speaking. You should be able to present, you should be able to stand up in front of people and talk. And the second is that you should be able to prepare your presentation material in a pleasant and concise manner to present your information. So your slides and whatnot should be suitable for the audience. The color, the arrangement, those kind of things. Public speaking. A lot of people are afraid of talking in front of the class or in front of audience. Survey shows that most people fear death less than speaking in front of other people. They prefer to die than to stand in front of people and talk. Who feels that way? Yeah? Who have that kind of fear? Who has that kind of fear? Uh, if you have that fear, you should practice talk in front of the mirror so that you can eliminate, you can reduce this fear so that you get used to it. Fear of public speaking even has a name. It's called glossophobia. And that's about 75% of people suffer from it. Many people, more than 50%, 75%, is a lot more people fear of public speaking. So when you do public speaking, you focus on single, well-defined topic. You speak about things that you know. Uh, if you don't know about a subject, you go and study about that subject before you stand up in front of people and try to speak. Second, you need to know your audience. Who are your audience? Are they the expert in the area? If they are the expert in the area, don't try to bullshit your way, because you will be uh, caught by the audience that you are bluffing. If your audience is actually layman who does not understand the topic, so you need to change the language into a layman's term. Don't try to use the technical terms, which they will get lost and they will lose interest in your presentation. So tailor your presentation to the main audience. Make sure that your presentation is suitable for them, for their level of knowledge, their level of experience. So you need to know your audience before you can tailor your presentation. And always start by introducing yourself and the topic. Your body language should be suitable for that presentation. For example, that you need uh, what do you call it? Uh, you need to show that your body language, that you are approachable, you are not defensive. Uh, so this actually you need to learn on the skill of reading the body language. Yeah? And also try to slow down when you speak. Normally, when people what do you call it, nervous, they tend to speak very fast. So slow down and use tone of voice to emphasize the point being made. Sometimes you varies your tone of voice. You can make it high when it comes to the point which is important. Uh, you basically that you varies the tone of voice to show that okay, this part is important, that people need to focus on, for example, and to avoid the the pauses between the thoughts. So sometimes actually I have this problem because my thoughts is faster than my mouth, for example, right? So they avoid as these these pauses between thoughts as much as possible. Right? These are the pointers when you do presentation, when you do public speaking. Have thoughts in order before talking. So you think, you uh, put in order, you susun what you want to talk about. So basically, that you need to plan your talk, your presentation. You plan and you practice. in front of the audience. Next one is that focus on the audience. Don't read from the slide. Most of our students, most of you, basically that you read from the slides. You don't even look at the audience. You don't even look at the panel. Your face normally is that you stand in front and you look at the slides and you read. That is not the way to do it. And don't read from the slides. You speak to the audience. The slides is just a pointer for you, just as a guide for you, not for you to read word by word. Don't try to memorize the slides. Don't try to memorize the slide. If you try to memorize the slides, and it becomes robotic. So you need to be natural when you present. If you don't know the answer, say so. Don't try to bullshit your way out because you will get caught. Don't try to impress audience with technical terms. Sometimes that you want to show that you know things, you start to throw these jargon words, the big words. So you use the technical terms. So try to not to impress the audience with the technical terms. Make it simple, so that people easily understand. Next one is that you repeat when necessary. If maybe you want to emphasize certain important things, you repeat that to make sure that the audience get what you want to say. When you have complete with one point that you want to present, you stop, you pause, then go to the next one. And important one is that the time management. You know your time limit. Typically 1 slide per minute. It depends, maybe more, right? It depends on what is suitable. If your presentation is about half an hour, sometimes people have 10 slides. Some people have 30 slides. 1 slide per minute. Some people is at 3 minutes per slide. It depends. Right? The content of the presentation, you have title, you have the problem objective, maybe the history or the background, the analysis, causes, reviews, results, and recommendation. So normally this is your the content of your slide presentation. If for the final year project presentation, basically you have the title, then you have the problem statement of the objective. History, basically you have the background or the literature review, and you have the methodology, for example. Then after that you have your result and the analysis of the result, conclusion, and recommendation. Right? So it depends on the need. So the presentation is a bulleted list to lead the discussion. It's not to copy of the report. So basically that your presentation is not a copy of the report. You just put a bullet point, the important one. And you as the speaker will fill in the blanks for the audience. So you speak, you add to the bullet points when you speak. And you build a story so that it has a flow in your presentation, and make sure that your presentation is relevant to the audience. And always use facts, not just opinions. You have to have numbers to back up your presentation. And in terms of mathematical equation, keep it to the minimum, because audience sometimes don't want to see those equations unless the panel asks you to see the mathematical equation. and you limit the content on the page. Normally is 8 to 10 words per line and 6 to 8 lines per slide. So that is the rule that we use normally. 8 to 10 words per line, and 6 to 8 lines per slides. And of course, if you look at my slide, it's more than that, because I'm trying to cram everything in the lecture. But a good presentation should follow this a guideline. Font size should be at least 18. Use color sparingly. A particular color may have specific meanings to the audience, and use the color combination, the suitable color combination. The light on dark, or the dark on light, for example. So you have to have a better contrast. For example, these slides, I have black with a white background, so it's contrasting, so that it's clear and easy to use. Data charts may be included. Use real examples for illustration, and use pictures instead of words. And you can use the embedded videos, online links. And if you use these videos and online links, make sure that you test them before the presentation, because most of the time the link does not work. For example, the video does not play. So anything that can go wrong will go wrong normally in the presentation. If you are presenting in a technical conference, then limit the animation. Don't put too many animation. Right? For example, you have these circuits. Example, you use photos, instrument in your slide presentation. Then you need to have the handouts, and our students normally miss this. They forget to prepare the handouts for the audience, or at least for the panel. It's always appropriate to have the handouts ready. Handing out at the beginning allows the audience to take notes on the material. But the problem is that the panel will start to read your handout ahead of your presentation. So this is called the look ahead syndrome. May cause a look ahead syndrome. So what happened is that if your presentation is maybe not to their liking, that they will show their disinterest to your presentation sometimes, right? So that is the downside of it. And also make sure that you have enough for the entire audience. If your audience is 100, then you prepare for 100, not just 50, for example. And the exercises should be should not be handed out until you are ready to conduct the portion of the presentation. So that's why if you go to training, for example, that they have the separate handouts for the exercises, and they only hand these exercises when it comes to that portion. Okay, when you want to do exercise, then they hand out the exercise for you to do. So they did not give it beforehand. So this, if you do a student papers, it's similar to the reports, but intent is publication. And there are many publications that are looking for papers from students, whether it's journals or engineering conference and whatnot. So normally that the professor will assist you to come up with a paper. And also that you do capstones project. So those are under the student papers, thesis, dissertation. These are good source for papers. So that's why sometimes your supervisor use your project reports, FYP reports, to be the basis for the conference paper, and they put your name as one of the authors, for example, right? So the papers basically that follow the report structure, or sometimes that that you have to follow the structure or the formats dictated by the conference organizers. So you need to follow those format. So sometimes, for example, the format is following the IEEE format. Those are the structure that they have. References are required sometimes, and this and lists are at the end of the paper, and the paper must be peer reviewed when you want to do publication or to present to the conference. That normally they ask you to send the abstract, and they evaluate the abstract whether it's suitable or not. If it's suitable, they accept. Then after that, they ask you to send the full paper, and this full paper are being reviewed by the panel for the presentation. These are the tips when you write papers. Your paper need to convince the audience of three things. That the problem that you are doing is interesting, and this problem is hard to solve, and you have solved it. So these are the three things that you need to convince the audience when you write a conference paper. Nobody is interested in a problem which is not interesting. And you have to show that this problem is hard, and you able to solve it. And stay on point and keep it brief. Use the active voice whenever possible. Provide the fact and let the audience making the judgment, and avoid the use of will, because will means that you have not done it. Whereas in the presentation, you have to show that you have done it. So there is no such thing as will. And use figures, example whenever possible, and never use the word I. So normally use we. When describing an action that occurred in the past, use the past tense. So basically that writing papers, conference papers, is a good way to develop your technical competence. So from your final year project, you try to generate 1 or 2 papers for publication with your supervisor. So these are the other tactics to improve your communication skills. Basically, take a technical writing class, take public speaking class, creative writing, and read a lot of books and newspapers to increase your vocabulary and to increase your general knowledge. Okay, so that is actually the what do you call it, tips in the engineer as communicator. So effective communication skills are required if you want to be successful in your academic or in workplace. 3 communications, academic communication requirement are reports, presentation, and papers. Always start with the template of format required by the professor. So you plan, you practice, and refine when it comes to your communication, and continue to explore options to improve your communication skills. So that is actually the brief on the how important is the engineer as the communicator. Okay, any question on this? Any question? No, Simple. The slide is there that you can review. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to stop this recording, and after that I will what do you call it, continue with this with the other lecture, with other slides, if you don't have any question. You have question?
No, sir.
No, eh? Okay, I stop the recording.